But there's still certain things we need to talk about.
No, go and keep going.
You talking like that.
Yeah, no.
I don't want my kids to be around that.
Get out.
And every time Martell Holt does something, Melody, she runs social media and put my out there. But I haven't done that.
There comes a moment in some stories when everything changes, not because of a dramatic television episode or a viral social media post, but because reality finally catches up with the image people have spent years trying to protect. For Martell Holt, many viewers believe that moment arrived after years of public controversy, legal disputes, and personal struggles that transformed one of reality television's most recognizable couples into one of its most talked-about cautionary tales. From the outside, Martell Holt and Melody Shari appeared to have built the life that many people dream about. They were entrepreneurs, television personalities, parents of 4 children, and stars of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Their success seemed to represent hard work, ambition, and the promise that 2 determined people could build something extraordinary together. To fans watching from home, they looked like the complete package, but appearances rarely tell the entire story.
Considering all the things that have gone on both sides of the fence, Melody and myself, I really don't see Melody and I ever getting back together. And I just see who Melody really is, because I feel that her heart, for real, her heart isn't good.
As the cameras continued rolling, small cracks slowly began to appear beneath the polished surface. What first seemed like ordinary marital disagreements eventually evolved into something much bigger, something that would play out not only in front of millions of viewers, but also inside courtrooms, across news headlines, and throughout social media. The more details emerged, the clearer it became that this wasn't simply another reality TV breakup. It was the unraveling of a family, a business partnership, and a public image that had taken years to build. The question is, how did everything change so dramatically? To answer that, we have to go back to where it all began. Long before court hearings and public disagreements became part of their story, Martell Holt and Melody Shari were known primarily for their success in real estate and entrepreneurship. Together, they built businesses, invested in property, and became respected figures in Huntsville, Alabama. Their ability to balance family life with business ambitions attracted attention, and when Love and Marriage Huntsville premiered, viewers were introduced to what appeared to be one of the show's strongest couples.
My marriage hit a wall a few months back. I've been in Atlanta visiting my brother. I chose to go to Atlanta because, of course, Martell and I have children together, so it's important. While I do need time and space away, it is still also important for me to be, in an area or a distance that's not too far, so that there's not an issue when it comes to exchanging the kids and custody and things of that nature.
Martell often projected confidence and charisma. Whether discussing business opportunities or family goals, he came across as someone determined to succeed. Melody, meanwhile, earned admiration for balancing multiple responsibilities. She wasn't simply supporting the family's businesses, she was also raising 4 children while pursuing her own professional ambitions. Together, they created an image of teamwork that resonated with audiences, looking for examples of successful Black entrepreneurship and family life. For many viewers, their relationship represented possibility. They weren't celebrities who had inherited fame. They appeared to be people who had worked hard to create opportunities for themselves, while inspiring others to pursue similar dreams. That image became one of the defining features of the early seasons of the show, and it helped establish them as fan favorites.
Wealth. Are y'all still going through this, man? What do you think the problem is? Martell.
She don't want nobody seeing that she's actually working with me in terms of effective co-parenting. She don't want nobody to see that. She don't want nobody to see that she's being nice or cool with me. It gotta be. What else could it be? One thing about I'm trying to stay peaceful. No, because I don't mess up your peace. I don't say anything wrong. I don't do anything wrong. It's all about the kids. She can call my phone and talk to the kids whenever, and I don't have a number to call my kids when they're with her. I just want her to do right.
However, reality television has an unusual way of revealing what polished social media posts often conceal. Cameras capture celebrations and accomplishments, but they also document disagreements, frustrations, and moments that can't always be carefully edited away. As the series continued, subtle tensions became more noticeable. Conversations that once centered on business success gradually shifted toward trust, communication, and unresolved conflict. At first, many viewers assumed these disagreements were simply the ordinary challenges that every long-term relationship experiences. After all, balancing marriage, parenting, business ownership, and television production would place enormous pressure on almost anyone. But over time, the conflicts appeared to deepen, and speculation about the future of their relationship began growing among fans.
Right, well, Love and Marriage Huntsville TV star Martell Holt was recently arrested for domestic violence. The 42-year-old was booked into the Madison County Jail last night. Holt was charged with third-degree domestic violence and harassing communications.
And yet, despite everything already being discussed online, the most consequential chapter of their story had not yet unfolded. Because while television cameras documented emotional conversations and public reactions, another process was taking place away from the spotlight, one governed not by ratings or public opinion, but by legal procedures, documented evidence, and judicial decisions. That process would ultimately reshape the future of their family in ways that no television episode ever could. In the next chapter, we'll examine how a highly public divorce gradually evolved into a series of legal disputes, why courtroom proceedings became the center of public attention, and how those developments changed the narrative surrounding both Martell Holt and Melody Shari.
By the time viewers noticed that the relationship between Martell Holt and Melody Shari began to unravel, it had become clear that the challenges they faced extended far beyond the ordinary disagreements often seen on reality television. What had started as subtle tension gradually developed into one of the most closely followed storylines on Love and Marriage Huntsville. As the couple spoke more openly about the difficulties within their marriage, audiences began realizing that the image of the perfect power couple had been far more complicated than it appeared. One of the biggest turning points came when Melody publicly discussed the breakdown of their marriage and the issues that ultimately led to their separation. Those revelations immediately sparked intense discussion among fans, entertainment media, and social media users. Some viewers expressed sympathy for Melody, believing she had endured years of emotional hardship before deciding to move forward. Others questioned whether the relationship could have been repaired, or whether the public nature of their lives had made reconciliation nearly impossible. Regardless of where people stood, one thing became undeniable. The story had grown far beyond a reality television plotline. It had become a real-life family crisis, unfolding under the constant attention of the public. As the divorce moved forward, the challenges didn't simply disappear once the marriage officially ended. In many ways, they became even more complicated. Divorcing couples often continue sharing responsibilities when children are involved, and Martell and Melody were no exception. They still had 4 children to raise, schedules to coordinate, important parenting decisions to make, and ongoing communication that neither could completely avoid. While many families manage to establish stable co-parenting relationships after divorce, the process can be extremely difficult, especially when trust has already been damaged. In this case, public attention added another layer of pressure, with nearly every disagreement becoming a topic of online discussion. The situation became increasingly complicated as legal matters surrounding the former couple attracted additional media coverage. Court proceedings began drawing attention not because they involved famous television personalities, but because they addressed serious issues related to communication, parenting, and compliance with court orders. Unlike television reunions or social media debates, courtrooms operate under entirely different standards. Judges don't base decisions on popularity, public opinion, or who appears more convincing in interviews. Instead, they review testimony, legal arguments, court filings, and evidence presented through the judicial process. That distinction would become incredibly important as the legal disputes continued. During this period, Martell also faced legal consequences related to communications involving Melody. According to publicly reported court records, he pled guilty to a misdemeanor charge of domestic violence in the 3rd degree, involving harassing communications. The court imposed a suspended jail sentence, probation, financial penalties, and required participation in a domestic violence intervention program. A no-contact order relating to Melody was also issued as part of the legal resolution. These developments received widespread media attention because they represented more than another headline in an ongoing celebrity dispute. They became part of the official court record, shifting public discussion from speculation to documented legal outcomes. For many longtime viewers of the series, these developments changed the way they viewed the couple's story. Earlier seasons had focused primarily on entrepreneurship, family life, and building a successful future together.